Have you ever felt that nagging feeling that charging for your work might drive people away? Or maybe you've been told that the value of your creative talents isn't quite where you're pricing and you need to think differently about what you're doing? Or perhaps you've been told that creatives don't make money at all, that you should adopt the starving artist practice and find a real job. Well, I am here to tell you today that creatives rule the world. No, I'm kidding. We love creatives, but for some reason, there's a narrative that creatives shouldn't get paid. And yet, we need creatives. Every single thing that we have came from a creative idea. Recently, somebody asked me, do I only work with creative entrepreneurs? And I said, well, if you're an entrepreneur, by default, you're creative. So the answer is yes. And I don't ever want somebody to think, oh my gosh, I'm not creative. Yes, you are. If you're in technology, you're creating a new way to code. If you are an artist, you're creating a new song. If you are a mechanic, you're creating, right? Like we all have a creative spark about us that helps drive the business that we're in. And so anytime I hear an entrepreneur say they are not creative, I think then you probably are not in the business you need to be in, or you need to go find a job. But that aside, today I want to tackle what it looks like to own your brand from a creative perspective, whatever industry that is for you, and what it means to leverage the three dimensions of your brand so that you can turn your passion into a profitable business. So let's get started. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Sybil. I've been called a brand positioning queen, a brand cultivator. I've been called the brand architect. I love all of the names and thank you for the affirmations. Today, I want to talk about how I help creative entrepreneurs turn their passion into a profitable business. And I want to start with doing a quick recap. If you've not watched my video on the three dimensions of branding, I'm going to put it, I think, on this corner here and put that link there for you. But go back and watch that. I talk about my 10,000 hours exercise and how I came to realize that it is okay to be a multi-passionate creative. And we get to charge for the things we want, protect the parts of us that matter, and give the world something special. But let's talk about this core philosophy that literally changed my business. I read a book that was called Refuse to Choose. And in that book, the author talks about how she went through about 10 different careers before she settled on being an author and a life coach. And I thought about that. I thought about all of the careers that I had had leading up to this moment that positioned me for such a time as this. And what I came to realize is my talents, though they were hidden, they were there from a really early age. I always loved systems. I've always loved processes. I've always loved streamlining and finding like the quickest point from A to B. I just didn't realize that that was a sellable skill set, but it is a talent. Not everybody has that eye for detail or process in the way that I do. And so growing up, people would always tell me, oh, Sybil, you need to monetize your baking or you need to monetize your music. And I hated it. I hated charging for baking. I hated charging for music, but I did it because those were the skills that other people told me I was supposed to profit from. And anytime I would say, no, that's not what I want to do, they say, oh my God, you're just so lazy. You're a lazy creative. And so if that is you, y'all, please ignore the naysayers. If they have never started a business, if they don't have a creative bone in their body, don't let them talk to you like that. Okay. Tell them go find a seat and relax their nerves. But I digress. What I realize is, though, that this is a countercultural perspective, not only from what the humans over here who have never started a business said, but also from every business coach that I talked to when I said, I really got to protect my hobbies. Like literally, I would tell my business coach, I have to sew, I have to bake, I have to play my instrument. And they were like, you don't have time for your hobbies, you don't have time for your gifts. You need to figure out how to make money. I'm like, I know. But if I leave this part of me on the shelf, my business is not going to grow. And that's exactly what happened. My business stopped growing because I stopped doing the creative processes that helped me to drive my business. So if you are a multi-passionate creative like me, I want to say it is time that maybe you pull some of these things off the shelf, you set aside, standard business and think differently about the business that you are trying to start. So I want to do a quick recap of the three parts that I talk about that you need to protect, and each one of them serves a purpose. When I think about how we are created, right? We are multifaceted creative beings. And to think that we've got to choose just one thing, it limits all that you are. It feels very restrictive, right? And so when I was talking to one of my clients and she said, Sybil, why do I have to pick something? I said, you get to do all of the things, but I need you to pick the thing that you want to profit from. So this exercise is really about thinking differently about how you monetize, when you monetize, and if you monetize, and what that is going to look like for you. Now, I could go in deep about business models, but that'll be for another video. And in fact, if you want my philosophy around business models, just pop a comment in the chat. I'd love to create that for you. But gifts are here for you to serve the world differently than how you get compensated. Okay? Gifts are your get to. I tell people anytime I gift something, just think about the idea of a gift, right? It's a present, it's unexpected, it's that little something extra. That is what your gifts are here for. Okay. I didn't want to monetize my little something extra. And so I said my gifts are my get to. I get to volunteer. I get to be a musician. I get to sing on the choir. I get to participate in community plays or in the community orchestra. That's my get to. And then there are hobbies, right? These are here to refuel your creativity. And I said, this is here to protect you. When you're out there serving and volunteering and taking on the world full force, you need a place to retreat. Your hobbies can and should be your sanctuary. So I want to ask you, are you protecting your hobbies or are you trying to sell all of them? If so, then you are going to leave yourself on E. You're going to be on empty because you're trying to do everything out there and not enough in here. At some point, you're going to have to refuel, and hobbies are the perfect way. The other thing I want to suggest to you is hobbies probably will have an expiration date. This is a great way to test and see, is this a hobby or is this something I want to do long term? I have a craft room with every single hobby you can think of, from coloring books to cross stitch to a sewing machine to knitting needles. And each one of them served a different purpose in a different season. I have zero intention on putting any of that on Etsy, okay? But when you think about your hobbies, these are the activities that challenge you, they make you think, but they're not too hard, right? Like you don't want to work hard at a hobby. Hobbies should be easy. So shout out to all of the hobby hoppers who are watching this today. The next thing you want to look at are your gifts. And like I said, I was gifted the gift of music. So I love singing, I love song. And what I realized is serving at the highest level for me is not leading service every Sunday. Serving at the highest level as a musician means there goes my get to again. I get to show up when I feel like, and I get to go home when I don't want to be there. And that works for me. I get to ebb and flow with the energy that I have to give the world my gift of music in that way, and that's enough, right? So when you're thinking about your gifts, think about the times that you say, well, I get to do this thing. And whatever that is, those are your gifts. Don't necessarily expect compensation from them. Glad if they do. I've definitely gotten compensated for playing my harp and my violin and my saxophone, but like I feel like it's a gratis, right? Like it's a courtesy thank you. It's not the thing that is fueling and driving my business, but again, it's there to connect me and humanize me. I also think of gifts as those things that I can do a little something extra for my clients. So, for example, when I deliver a keynote, if they are local, I will say, hey, I can bring the harp along with me for my keynote because I know not a lot of people get to experience a harp live. And there are people who take me up on that offer, and then I get a little extra gratis for traveling with the harp. But again, it's not expected. And then last, which is the area that we all want to talk about, is how do I monetize my talents? How do I stop burying my talents? And chances are these are the things that people have told you are not the sellable skill set. Why? Because they are intangible. Your job as a creative, as a multi-passionate creative, is to figure out how to brand that intangible thing that you do really well. And chances are it's a thing that you've been born with, or it's a hard-fought skill that you have now honed better than anyone else. So I want you to think, what are those skills that might not quite have a name for it, but you think is worth someone paying for it, and then go do that. The real challenge here is understanding the difference in figuring out which one fuels you and in which way, and how you want to show up in the world. What's that thing you want to be known for? I did not want to be known as a sewer. I did not want to be known as a baker. I love being known as a musician. I think it's really cool, but my actual known for is much greater. It's that divine calling, that yearning that I want to be known for. And it has nothing to do with any of the titles that anybody has ever given me. And so when you think about that known for, this is the thing that you want to be called. This is that thing that is going to drive you to keep learning, to keep growing, to keep exploring, to keep serving. And in my other video, I talked about this. I said, can you talk about this thing for the next 10 years? Can you talk about this thing for the next 100 years? Well, we don't have 10 years, we don't have 100 years, but you do have 14 days. And so I want to invite you to do my 14-day content challenge. And this is something that I tell all of my clients to do. Whatever that thing is you think you are on fire for and passionate about and you want to run your business on, I want you to take 14 days without research. Number one, because there's always somebody who wants to do some research first. Don't do this with research. Take what you know, and if you find yourself seeking research, ask yourself, why am I researching this? Is it because I want to prove I know this thing, or is it because I'm on fire to learn this thing? Take 14 days and take 20 minutes per day and develop a new piece of content on that topic and see what you're really talking about. See if you can get in a rhythm. If you hate developing that content after day 2 or day 3, it's not the thing you're supposed to be gifting the world. It's not the thing that you're supposed to be serving in to get compensated for. Start over, try again. And what I found is when you get that level of clarity that you can flip on a camera or write a book, Reset the Foundation, chapter 1 in the link if you want there, or talk to somebody ad nauseum about that thing, then you have found your thing. You have found that talent that is supposed to be compensating you. So don't be fearful of putting a price on that thing. Okay, you are called to live a life abundantly. That also means abundance in finances. That does not mean you're struggling bus. That does not mean that you are in the driver's seat of the struggle bus while you're volunteering and serving and doing all of these other things, or serving out of your strongest skill set, your highest value skill set. Life abundantly means I get to be refueled and I get to give. It is so much easier to give when you have a cup that runneth over, when you can pour out all of the blessings that have been bestowed upon you. Okay? When you are able to charge what you know you are worth and to serve in your highest value skill set and to be passionate about that thing, that's when you know you have found your it. And the 3 dimensions of branding can help you get there. And I tell people it's a brand because think about what a brand is. A brand is not just a logo or a tagline, it's an identity, it's a memory. And the memories that I leave behind with people have to do with all 3 of those parts. And I never want to check any part of me at the door. And you should not want to either. Here's my challenge to you as I wrap up. Think about what your gifts are. Think about your hobbies, and then think about those talents that you are so passionate about, you are willing to stand firm on your pricing, your positioning, and the clarity of mind that this is what you are called to do in this life. This is how you are meant to serve. And then let me know what that thing is, because I think it's really cool to talk to other multi-passionate creatives like you. All right. I hope you enjoyed this. Till next time, I will see you on the other side. Don't forget to be the one. And then again, like I said, uh, grab your complimentary copy of Reset the Foundation, Chapter 1. It might be the next best thing that you read that will help you get from where you want to be to where you want to go. Bye for now.